Hello, welcome to my session. Today we'll be discussing Act 2 of the Birthday Party by Harold Pinter. As you know, Act 2 begins with McCann tearing a piece of newspaper into strips. We see that Stanley enters the dining room where McCann is tearing a newspaper into 5 equal strips. The men introduce themselves to each other, and McCann discourages Stanley from leaving the house and shares that Meg has set up a birthday party for him. But Stanley is sure that he has met McCann before. Stanley has a sense of meeting McCann somewhere else before, but McCann denies it. The men discuss business, and Stanley describes his quiet life at the house and emphasizes that he is the same man he has always been. Stanley becomes agitated and pleads with McCann for information about why he is there. He invites McCann out for a type of Irish beer called Guinness, and he also shares his love for Ireland while McCann listens. And we see Petty and Goldberg enter from outside, and Petty introduces Goldberg to Stanley. Goldberg reminisces about a beautiful girl from his youth before Petty leaves for his chess night. They cross-examine Stanley by asking him questions about leaving the organization and a wife. Goldberg orders McCann to remove Stanley's glasses. The questions eventually become ridiculous, and by this time Stanley is sweating and moaning. So there is a chaotic situation in this point of Act 2. Then we see Meg enters the room wearing an evening dress and ready to begin the birthday party. She is oblivious to what has transpired among the men. 4 bottles of scotch and 1 bottle of Irish whiskey are brought out for the party. We see Meg enjoys a little bit of flirtation from Goldberg, which is really interesting. And we also see the guests prepare to toast Stanley's birthday party. Stanley's birthday. Then McCann turns off the light suddenly and shines a torch onto Stanley's frightened face, because Stanley has already been frightened by the 2 faces, Goldberg and McCann, and is frightened. His fear started from the moment he has seen McCann in the room, and from the moment the another character was waiting outside talking to Petty. We then see Lulu walks into the room just as Meg finishes the toast. Lulu is a new character that we are introduced to here. And then we see Goldberg is immediately enamored with Lulu, and the 2 begin flirting each other. And then Goldberg offers a toast, and the festivities begin. At this moment, we see Stanley is very quiet, with no festivity either in his mind or on the countenance. Max suggests playing a game called Blind Man's Buff, where one person is blindfolded and must find one of the others standing in the room. They take their turns being blindfolded. So the scene is like, a traditional birthday party. In a traditional birthday party, things, like this happen. Well, when it is Stanley's turn, we see McCann ask for Stanley's glasses, and Mag secures the scarf around Stanley's eyes. McCann suddenly snaps the frames of Stanley's glasses and breaks them, which is, sorrowful. As you can see, he places the drum in Stanley's path. We see Stanley, walk into the drum and falls over. He, rises and approaches Mag, and then we see Stanley begins to strangle Mag just as the lights go out. Later on, we see Lulu stumbles and falls while the rest of them fumble for the torch. We see that McCann eventually finds the torch and he shines it on the table, where they find Stanley giggling over Lulu on the table. When the light comes in, Stanley is seen over Lulu with heavy giggle, uncontrollable giggling. Stanley then backs up against the wall and he begins to laugh. Well, that's what happens in Act 2. Now let's talk a little bit about Act 2. We see that Stanley begins to lose composure once he's alone with Goldberg and McCann. These two men later begin drilling Stanley with questions and give him little time to think between each one. So they bombard Stanley with ceaseless questions, and allowing Stanley no moment to respond. So Stanley is helplessly caught between questions. The tension builds and then turns humorous when Stanley refuses to sit down. They ask Stanley to sit down, but he refuses to sit down, and it takes a new turn. The questions become more ridiculous and the tempo of the questioning speeds up. We see gradually the questioning tempo of the questioning speeds up. Goldberg asks Stanley questions like, why do you pick your nose? Stanley does not respond to this question. The two men then intend to rattle Stanley and are successful in doing so. We see the birthday party is awkward before it begins. Stanley denies that it is his birthday party and does not want to attend. Every time it is being referred to him, either Mag is wrong about that day or Stanley does not want any unnecessary attention, which is why he denies. He keeps on denying that it's not his birthday party or it's not his birthday at all. However, McCann blocks his exit and guilts Stanley into staying. There is an odd assortment of guests who barely know one another. We see Meg, is most excited in this birthday party, and it is as if the party is for her instead of Stanley. She's so excited and so happy about the party. She presents a toy drum to Stanley as a gift of the birthday party. It seems her joy is no bounds. So we see that Meg looks for compliments on the evening dress that she wears to the casual party. No one seems to notice poor Stanley, who is quiet and frightened. The drinking and celebrating continue as if he is not there. So Stanley's presence is no presence at all in the birthday party. It seems to be an absence, because when we see someone's absence somewhere, we don't see any actability or action of that person. So here we just see the Stanley sitting but without any action. So he is something like a living corpse, which Goldberg calls him at some point of this act. And then we see that the game that Lulu chooses for the party is blind man's buff, which is also symbolic of the action in the play. Stanley is essentially blind without his glasses, because without his glasses he cannot see anything clearly. So we see him desperately looking for his glasses when his glasses were broken or taken away from him. He's also blind to what the man will do to him. The word buff is used to mean a small push. Goldberg and McCann push the blind man, Stanley, to the edge of his sanity. And we see accordingly the audience is blind to what the protagonist, Stanley, is facing. We see Goldberg and McCann do not say what Stanley has done or what they will do with him. There are more questions than answers in the dialogue. And Goldberg talks in generalities at times, such as we can say when he states, "We admit possibility only after we grant necessity." And there is a dispute, or you can say a debate between this question of between the questions of possibility and necessity between Stanley and Goldberg. Then finally we see that Goldberg says that we admit possibility only after we grant necessity. So necessity comes first. Each conversation presents questions but no answers. We see Stanley is heavily bombarded with these kind of questions that finally makes him suffer from a neurotic attack. So he has had a nervous breakdown here. And that's all about today's session. Thank you.